Welcome. Welcome back, everybody. My name is Paul, and a lot of people know my videos. I have a series of videos, a little company I call Living Being Media, and I've made a lot of commentary about a lot of different subjects over the years. Basically, a social trend and analyst and observer with a very interesting and unusual background, the subject I've chosen to investigate. And I have watched a evolution of media over the last number of years because I'm in my 60s here. And when I was young, my exposure to TV didn't even happen until I was about 14 years old. And back then, you sit down and watch a little TV at 11 o'clock at night. It was all black and white and no remote control. And you got a little snippet of news and whatever they wanted to present to us, that's what we heard. And then you go to bed. And when you stop and think about how we as human beings need to make decisions about our lives, just forget about the political situation that we're born into or the religion. We need information that is helping us become full human beings and to take care of the basic necessities of life. And, that's regardless of any kind of religion or political system that we're in. And for thousands and thousands of years, there was just an oral tradition. You had people who would teach and talk and discuss things and travel from town to town, and maybe they would teach something, and whatever their teaching was, if it was practiced and enjoyed, then it endured. Otherwise, it didn't. So the traditions of something that would work, or the historical records, were told by the voice. And a lot of times, in order to make it easier to record those things, they made the poems and the language very melodic, or they had very unusual images, like in Egypt, for describing a complex thing. Like we might say a whole paragraph, where maybe a cartouche in Egypt would represent like a whole paragraph or a whole concept, or maybe even a page. So what I'm getting at is the discussion of the media, where in our modern era, we have some severe problems that are affecting the whole world in a lot of different ways. Some of them are human created and some of them are just natural catastrophes. And the only way that we can have information, we depend on vital information coming from the media, from whoever's distributing that kind of information, whether it's verbally or any other way, to tell us and give us some guidelines. Now, there's, as soon as the TV came on board, in whatever the 30s or whatever it was, well, there's a lot of people, they have been making signs and slogans and printing newspapers and so on. And they say, well, geez, now we got a new tool that we can, send our message to all around the country instantly. So tremendous amounts of money went involved in controlling the media and distributing the message, controlling the narrative. And for a long, long time, these media companies, they had at the beginning, because they knew media is so powerful, that they had to kind of keep everybody separate here. You can't own that many newspapers, because then you're going to only be like, we won't have any controversy here. We won't have any journalism. Everybody just have one story. So, to put it in a nutshell, that's kind of where we're at right now. We've come to a point where the media, for a long time, has just been owned and monopolized in tremendous amounts of money, and not just the media on the television, but we're talking about the movies, road signs, everything. Dominated by the colors, whatever they choose to control the narrative, because they want our attention. Her little attention is our precious little resource, and as soon as we stop paying attention to things that don't bring value to our lives, like reality shows and so on, then we realize that they lose control over the media. So the message, they don't have the control over the narrative anymore. And that's where we're at right now, because a lot of people, in the beginning, the internet, oh, you got your news from the internet. Oh, yeah, you watched it on YouTube, snicker, snicker. But the facts are that all around the world, there's tremendous, tremendous, very, very influential, experienced, knowledgeable, intelligent people discussing things, and that's what we need to have a dialogue. Our future as a civilization depends on whether we can have a decent dialogue to solve critical, regardless of our political system. There's certain things like the food systems that we don't have, fish in the ocean, and it doesn't matter what religion we are, what country we live in, we just can't eat. And if we don't cooperate on certain things, in a timely manner, then we really are going to just like burn all the trees down, and then we wonder, well, how can we have any firewood anymore? We just burned it all. Can't build any houses anymore. It's a reality. So the power of the media to give us information, we have to be proactive. And the good news is that it has now become like so that the balance has long been tipped now, where the media has shifted over to, if you want the information that's not on the TV or the corporate controlled channels online of the same media like CNN and BBC and all those ones, then you can go off and find all kinds of incredible information on your own. Plus, you can actually read books, which is today a revolutionary act. Now, if you go into a cafe and somebody's sitting there and they got a big stack of books and a marker and a notepad and they're taking notes and they're writing a book or whatever, well, that's a little unusual. Thinker. But I have been online for a number of years now, deliberately to create some kind of a dialogue. I'm nobody. I'm just somebody with a voice. I have some observations, and it's fine to have discourse and disagreement. But when we both come across the same fact, we say, well, I didn't know that fact, and now it starts to change my opinion on certain things or certain people. And a simple reality that we live with is, one tiny fraction of percent of the people in the world actually want wars. They profit from wars. They finance wars. They have agendas. They want the resources or whatever, the gold or the minerals or the oil. And everybody's like the billions and millions of other people, like, they don't go along with it. But so how come they're always winning then? How come like a tiny percent of the people are always winning? The royal families, that they go back hundreds of years. Like, wait a minute here. You just, from now on, you just kind of get born into this family and now you're inheriting a country? Or some religion. The Catholic religion basically lays ownership to Jesus told us, Peter told us, and, we have it written down here that they told us, we own the planet in Jesus' name, and we're all kind of owned by us, and you may not think so, but we think so. That's how silly it's really gotten. Now, the United States was technically founded as a revolution. Say, we don't want any more kings and queens anymore. Sorry about that. Like, we want to be friends and all, but we really don't like the queen thing and the king thing because they screw us around all the time, and we're done with that. And they had to fight for our rights, supposedly. And of course, the people who came here, they needed a new country, and there's some people living here already. Say, well, we want a new country, and I guess we have to eliminate all these people here because they've been living here for thousands of years, and so some of the conflicts that are happening on the planet right now are literally hundreds or thousands of years old. So again, getting back to the internet, the power of us to have a dialogue and everybody say, okay, instead of doing a lot of texting and, well, you said this and blah, 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 I hate you now, I'm going to unfriend you and I can't believe you're like that and whatever. We have to have a verbal dialogue with voice and mannerisms, and we can't all meet in person and have a big convention somewhere. But we do have the technology to have a discourse. And that's a very, very, very great power. Now, if we don't take advantage of that power, then we're going to lose. Because sure enough, the people who, the little tiny 1% or 00 whatever, those people really sure keep track of the media. They really, every day there's a poll. They want to know every tiny little blip. Oh boy, and they have computers that keep track of those little blips of public opinion and stock markets and whatever. Yeah, they're keeping track. They want to know how many gizmos or how many pounds of beans you buy every month and where. So it's a strange world we live in, but we have the ability to take advantage of the internet right now and literally blow the main media. They produce a very expensive product. They charge a lot of money for their ads, and then they have people like, well, it's just so expensive we can't even actually send them on any jobs now. They just sit in they just surf the internet and they sit in a booth somewhere, all nice makeup and whatever, and nice clothes, and say as soon as they go online, they're just a personality that tells the story. So now we got to tell our own stories. And I get kind of enthusiastic about this, and maybe my tone of voice is a little harsh sometimes. I try to laugh, but it's really a critical situation we're in because our planet civilization is morphing like a butterfly. It's like the cocoon is slowly going out, and now everything for all that time, the cells in that organism were changing over. We are at the phase where the cocoon, our ignorance, our unawareness. Ignorance is not stupidity. Ignorance is just we don't know the things that we need to know to make a really, really intelligent decision about our lives and what we do. So we're at that stage where it's just slowly unfolding, and now it's like, okay, that new organism is a butterfly. We are all like, okay, it's okay to just have the cocoon, everything, the veil drops, like, okay, we're going to see everything, and some of it's really crappy. But at the same time, now we have the power to fly and to use the technology of the era and all the amazing tools we have. I mean, I grew up in India, and back then if you had like a tin can, they'd make something of it and they'd store their grain in or whatever. And they were very resourceful. And now we live in a country, a lot of us live in countries where there's so much wealth. I mean, my goodness, people have warehouses full of unused things and spare cars and spare everything. There's everything. There's duplicates of everything. So many things not even being used. And by living a little bit simpler and sharing a little more resources, and everybody can really, and I don't mean say, okay, everybody has one exact house, there's got to be so many square feet and they can't have any more and whatever. None of that stuff. I mean, just like basically, a lot of people don't even want a lot of stuff. They don't necessarily want like I want a big palace. Some people really don't. I don't want a big palace. Even if you gave me one, what for? So it doesn't have to be like an equalization thing, where the so-called democracy or whatever, or communism. It just means that just a little bit more communication and dialogue and sharing of resources, one resource of which is information. So I have a YouTube limit here. They always get you with that YouTube limit for us publishers or whatever, but share and like and discourse with others. So thanks again for listening.